You're listening to a For the Planet production. Doctor Who, Year of the Master, Part 1, Day of the Master. Doctor Who, Year of the Master, Part 1, Day of the Master, written and read by Nick Payne. The Doctor listened carefully to the hum of his ship as the rotor went up and down. Ever since they visited Skaro and encountered the Daleks, the TARDIS had been acting strangely. Was it the fluid link? No, he had checked that. He tried the fault locator. Bugger, he said. There's very little Artron energy left. Artron energy was what powered the TARDIS. I'm just going to have to take the TARDIS to Cardiff in order to refuel at this rift that one of my successors told me about, with rift energy radiation stuff. He complained, then set the controls for Cardiff, January 2021. The TARDIS arrived at a Roald Pass in Cardiff, right next to the water tower opposite the Millennium Centre. The Doctor and his granddaughter Susie walked out. Bridget and Liam, two of Susie's school teachers, nervously followed. Is this the future? Liam asked. It looked very different to 1963. Yes, Chesterford, the Doctor replied, wittingly but also slightly annoyed. Of course this was the future, the pudding brain. Bridget surveyed the area. This is Cardiff, right? She asked. Yes, and it looks very different to in 1963, the Doctor said. Probably, Bridget responded. I'd never been here before. Then consider this your first time, the Doctor said. What did you say we needed to do here? Liam asked. The TARDIS needs to refuel with rift energy, the Doctor said. Basically, there's this tear in time and space called the Rift that runs through Cardiff. Cardiff Bay is where it's at its most extreme. The TARDIS can use the harmless radiation of the Rift, which is nicknamed Rift Energy, to refuel itself. Sometimes it's just a pit stop, usually around 5 minutes. Sometimes I need to stick around for 24 hours, like this time. So we're in Cardiff for 24 hours, Liam asked. What do we do for an entire day? Oh, I'm pretty sure there's plenty we could do in Cardiff, Bridget said. I heard that the castle is a nice place to visit, and this place, Cardiff Bay, looks nice. I suppose, Liam said. Then it's settled, the Doctor said. Visit Cardiff for a day, have a rest, then back travelling in time and space. And you'll get us back to London, November 1963? Liam inquired. He spoiled it by adding the November. Bridget muttered in the background to herself. Yes, Chesterford, the Doctor responded. I will get you home to your proper place in your proper time. Don't worry, my dear fellow. Now let's go and find that castle that young Bridget is interested in. Bridget smiled at this. Come along, Susie, the Doctor said as he, Liam and Bridget started to walk north towards the city centre. They then stopped and looked back. Susie was still standing near the TARDIS, looking in their direction, worried. The Doctor walked back over to her. She'll be fine, Susie, the Doctor said. The TARDIS can look after herself with no trouble. Huh? Oh, right, yes, Susie said, snapping out of her thoughts. Now, what's the matter? The Doctor asked. Susie looked at him. Can't you feel it, Grandfather? She asked, nervously. The Doctor then started to feel a strange feeling. He then noticed he had already been feeling this feeling, but he had been too distracted to notice until now. Now that you mention it, I do feel something, he said. I think if it's what you feel, that there might be another Time Lord, or at least another Gallifreyan here. Yes, Susie replied, and I have a terrible sense of dread. Oh, it's probably one of my other selves playing with this Torchwood lot who operate Earth-defending operations here, the Doctor said. Now stop worrying and let's go and have a good time. Okay, Susie said, but she couldn't shake the feeling off. Neither could the Doctor. They joined up with Bridget and Liam. What was that all about? Liam and Bridget wondered to themselves. The TARDIS team decided to get the train from Cardiff Bay Station into Cardiff city centre. They had to wear masks due to the coronavirus pandemic, which the Doctor cursed and kicked himself for forgetting about. I guess it's the end for steam then, Liam sighed, talking about trains and railway locomotives. On the National Rail Network, or the British rail network, as you know it, the doctor said, but on heritage and preserved railways, steam locomotives, heritage diesels and heritage rolling stock still operate or are on display. Oh, that's good, Liam said as the train rattled over the Great Western Main Line, passing Cardiff Central Station to the west and heading into Cardiff Queen Street Station. They exited the station when the doctor realised something. Wait a minute, he said. Central Station is 0.1 mile closer to the castle than Queen Street Station. Ah, crap. Ah, well, never mind, Bridget said, looking at a map. Come on, I'm looking forward to this. I bet you are, mumbled Liam, following her. The doctor and Susie followed behind. I still have this feeling, grandfather, Susie said quietly, worried. So do I, the doctor said. They eventually reached the entrance to Cardiff Castle. Going inside, they had a look around the castle museum, the Welsh Soldier Museum, and the wartime shelters, and had a lovely picnic in the grounds. They spent 4 hours in total. It would have just taken them 3 hours, but Bridget insisted that they read every information board, much to everybody else's dismay and frustration. Eventually, it was time to go. I think we should have a walk around the city centre, Liam said, even if the shops are all shut, Bridget asked, due to this pandemic or whatever. Well, yes, Liam replied. We'd just be looking around. I just want to do that. They soon reached the gatehouse where they had come in. Well, most of them. Just before they headed out, the doctor realised that Susie was missing. Where had she gone? Then Bridget saw a door in one of the walls that hadn't been there earlier. She had a key eye, which the doctor admired. Bridget suggested that he look there, and so they did. The doctor opened the door. He had expected it to be locked, and would have to have sonicked it open, but it was unlocked, so the three of them went inside. What they found was a surprise to all of them. Inside was a room, but not just any old room. This room was full of suits of armours. The armoury? The doctor asked. No, Bridget replied. This room is newly built. It's supposed to look like part of the castle, but it is in fact brand new. And these suits of armours are also brand new. Wouldn't people make replicas of suits of armours for display at places like this anyway? Liam asked. Yes, Bridget replied, but these are especially new and shiny. What are they being used for? Liam asked. I doubt they are just for display. He moved towards one. Suddenly the suit of armour moved, and with its right hand grabbed Liam's left wrist and gripped it tight. Ah! Liam said, surprised. The grip also hurt a bit. Let me go, he ordered. The suit of armour did not obey. Release him, came an authoritative voice from the other side of the room, and the suit of armour obeyed. It released Liam, who rubbed his wrists. He, the doctor and Bridget turned and looked towards the end of the room. An elderly man, slightly younger to the doctor, looked at them. Welcome, doctor, peasants, to my domain, he said. Oh, no, not you, the doctor said. Oh, yes, the man said calmly, clearly enjoying himself. He wanted to laugh, but restrained himself, so he simply smiled a wicked smile. Who are you? Liam asked. Forgive me for not introducing myself already, the man said, still smiling. I am the master. That explains the feeling me and Susie had, the doctor whispered to himself. Another one? Bridget asked. What do you mean, another one? The master asked. We already met a master, Bridget said. He tried to kill us not too long ago. Good old me, the master said. Like me, the master is able to, change his appearance and personality, the doctor said. When this incarnation dies, he will look, sound, and act like someone else. No doubt some of the ideologies from his or her predecessor will remain with them. I wouldn't know yet, the master said. I am only in my first incarnation. So am I, replied the doctor. How fun, the master said, smiling. So what are you up to this time, master? The doctor asked. I have developed robot suits, the master said. He paused. And? The doctor asked. He was waiting for an answer. And I plan to use them to steal the crown jewels, the master announced. The doctor, Liam and Bridget laughed. What's so funny? The master demanded to know. Well, firstly, the doctor started to explain, that is a stupid idea. Secondly, you're at Cardiff Castle, not the Tower of London. And third, what's the point? The point is, doctor, is when I have the crown jewels, I will be master of the whole of Britain, and then the world. He allowed himself a loud laugh. What a silly plan, the doctor said. Liam and Bridget agreed. Well, it looks like I'll have to put you out of my misery, doctor, and your two companions too, the master announced, impatiently, and then again allowed himself another laugh. Suddenly there was a loud clang, and something struck the master's head. Ow! The master said, then fell to the floor, face first. Standing behind him was a suit of armour, with its arm out in a whack position. Behind it was Susie, with a control device. She giggled. Oh, what a silly Billy you are, Master, Susie said. You should always keep an eye on your little devices. You little bitch, the Master said slowly. I'll kill you. That is enough, shouted the Doctor. Well done, Susie. You stopped the Master from following up an incredibly stupid plan. I mean, robbing the crown jewels. What on earth? The Master growled. It was a genius plan, he protested. Christ, you really are the first one, Susie said. The other Masters are much more, well, confident. Confident, exclaimed the Master. And smarter, added Susie. The Master then stood up and lunged at her. Susie then pressed a button and the suit of armour she had been controlling whacked the Master in the face. She then pressed a few more controls and the suit of armour grabbed the Master and restrained him. No! The Master cried out. You can't do this to me! I sensed your presence here and I played my cards carefully, Susie said. I snuck in, hoping to find a way to stop you. She held up the control device for the suits of armour for a few seconds. This has been a big help in stopping you. The Doctor beamed. My granddaughter is very clever, being able to outwit her enemies like that. Indeed, the Master said calmly, then pressed a button on his watch. Suddenly, the room started to blow up. Oh, cripes, cried Liam. I think we should run for it, said Bridget. Agreed, the Doctor said, and the three of them and Susie ran out. Susie dropped the armour control as she did. Wait, Doctor, the Master yelled, but they were all gone by then. The suit of armour released the Master, as a few buttons had been pressed when the control had landed. The Master then ran out of the building as it blew up. What a waste, Bridget said mournfully. The four of them were looking at a massive hole in the wall of Cardiff Castle. At least we stopped the Master, said Liam. Susie coughed. Sorry, at least you stopped the Master, Liam corrected himself. Suddenly they heard a TARDIS door open. They turned around and looked. The Master! Bridget gasped as the Master entered his TARDIS, disguised as a guard hut. He shut the door, and soon the Master's TARDIS dematerialised. Come on, the Doctor said quietly. I don't really fancy speaking to the police about this. His companions laughed as they walked out of the castle. What a shame, Bridget sighed once again on their way out, whilst looking at the hole in the wall. Much to Liam's joy, they walked through Cardiff city centre and eventually found themselves back at Roldale Pass. The TARDIS had only had 5 or 6 hours worth of fueling, so the team decided to hang out in the TARDIS and visit a few places around the bay. They had quite enough excitement for one day, much to the Doctor's confusion. It was the bare minimum, he complained. But he had done a lot of walking that day, so admitted he could do with a rest. After another 18 or 19 hours, the TARDIS was ready to set off, and the TARDIS team were on their way. I wonder if we'll see the Master again, Liam said. Or at least that Master, Bridget added. Oh, almost definitely, the Doctor responded. Especially that one, added Susie. But for now, the Doctor continued, we can continue without bother. And with that, the four travellers continued their journey into time and space, hoping not to see the Master again for a good, long while. The end. Next time, the sophisticated Master decides to become the musical Doctor's band manager. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne audio YouTube channel.